Good afternoon, everyone. It's Aniva Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I would love to talk to you about my contemplation time this morning. This morning, it was all about generosity. And generosity, of course, I interpret this from the three different angles that I like to look at everything from as much as I can. So it's from thought, word, and action, right? So a lot of people think about generosity as specific of giving, and most often times I hear from people about money. And it's not always money, but I want to start with this quotation by the that was in the Tao Te Ching. And this quotation says, "The heart that gives gathers. The heart that gives gathers." And I really believe that this is true. So you'll know that when you give something, you gather this wonderful feeling in your own system. Never mind, of course, I believe in karma too. So I believe that giving generously of yourself always comes back. And it's such a beautiful experience when you're starting to become aware of, wow, as I give, I gather. So I came across this other quotation by Lau Tzu, and this one said, "The wise man does not lay up his own treasures. The more he gives to others, the more he has for his own." So the wise man does not lay up his own treasures. The more he gives to others, the more he has for his own. And again, the same idea, right? So the more you give, the more you receive. Now, again, a lot of people seem to move right into financial resources. So I have something to give, I don't have something to give, and we all have something to give. I would start with kindness because kindness is something that we can all give. It doesn't cost anything. And we all have this within us to give and share if we choose to do so. Now, it's interesting that I feel that people often forget that energy is carried through thoughts, through words, and through actions, right? So, energy of our thoughts, if I'm thinking kind thoughts, I'm already giving out into the universe. And it might be very specific about this person is who I'm thinking kind thoughts about. Then it's the words that I speak too, right? So, from those thoughts come the words, and the words would be kind. And eventually actions might happen that are kind actions. So maybe my actions are just about, I'm going to make this meal because I'm thinking of this person who I'm thinking of with kindness. I've just spoken to this person kindly, and I'm going to make this meal because I know that person loves this meal, and it just makes me make this meal with kindness. So it's the same energy that's brought into all three aspects. Now we find that a lot of people are not mindfully attentive to what they're thinking, what they're speaking, and what they're doing, and understanding why they're doing these things. And most of all, not from a self centered perspective. I'm thinking this because it's on my mind, is often what people will do, right? The mind will think about all sorts of things, all good, bad, and ugly. The mind thinks, right? That's what it does. And then our words speak. So whether we're speaking to ourselves or we're speaking to someone that we care about, those words matter too, right? But a lot of people are just speaking words, and there's no awareness of how is this affecting the other side. Now, not speaking is also affecting the other side because that's also an action, right? So there's words that are not being spoken, and it's an action. So sometimes it's loving words are not being spoken. I care about you is a simple word or phrase that someone can say easily, right? That I care about you. And then, of course, the thought can come that I care about this person. The words can come that I care about you. And then the actions can come. I do this out of care for you. Now, all of these things are great. And of course, it sounds so easy, doesn't it? And so often people feel that this generosity, again, is linked more with money. And people will think that, well, I gave this much, or I think they want this from me. And so there's the defensiveness, and then there's the, one could say greed, but it could come from this holding on or a fear of loss, of losing something that is our own treasure, right? Our own treasure can also be our love. It can also be our kindness. And of course, it's a little bit perplexing to think, why would anyone hold these things back? Yet, I would love for you to sit for 5 minutes after this video and think, do you hold back on some of those things that you can be generous in daily and easily? And are you mindfully aware of the words that you speak, whether inside your head or outside to share with the world or the people that you love? Think before you speak. And when you're thinking, think about how you're thinking. Are you thinking about this is for me? Or is it this is for we, this is for the world? And I encourage we, right? And I also think that people need to speak as lovingly to themselves, act as lovingly to themselves, be as generous to themselves as they are to the world. And honestly, it goes both ways. You can start with being generous with the world with your thoughts, words, and actions. Again, even in just holding doors open or calling a friend or anything like that, or even asking the simple phrase of, how are you? Not only asking, but actually caring to hear, how is the other side doing? How is someone outside of me doing, right? So if I'm thinking about how am I doing and someone asks me how I'm doing, I feel great, right? It's like, oh, thank goodness they asked me. It's equally important to ask and really care about the response on the other side. And today I would love, again, if you think about this for 5 minutes after this video and think, how are you generous in your thoughts, words, and actions? Is it revolving around money? Is it including your thoughts and your words? And I hope, of course, that it does include your thoughts and your words, and not for because I'll get this out of that. If I do this, if I say this, I'll get this. And we know that teens are notorious for being able to say the right things to get the right things. And some people go through their entire lives that way. And then some people go through their entire lives fearing that from others. So they become people that hold on to these simple treasures that are so beautiful as blessings to ourselves and to the world around us. And I'd like to finish with this quotation, which brings us right back to the beginning. This is by Dalai Lama, and this says, generosity is the most natural outward expression of an inner attitude of compassion and loving kindness. Generosity is the most natural outward expression of an inner attitude of compassion and loving kindness. This means that if we are building this loving kindness and compassion right within ourselves towards ourselves, it's the natural outward expression too. It's the most natural. So I would love for you to build that up in yourself by being loving, kind, compassionate to yourself, and then being mindful about your thoughts, words, and actions that are going out to yourself and to the world around us. I wish you a fantastic day ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.